A while back ago, I was doing some research on the Oklahoma City bombing, and I came across some very interesting information. I don't know how to put this on the top of my videos right now, so I'm just gonna do a recording of a recording. And so I'm gonna narrate over it too.
Giving general partners explanation than the N4 explosion. Of course, we have our own definition of what happened.
Their own definition of what happened is a super bomb, which has been touted for months by Ted Gunderson on talk radio.
Now, the way our pineapple bomb works is that a cloud of aluminum, silicate, lead azide, and a few other ingredients is set up so that a specific chain molecule exists, permeates the air all the way around the pillars and so on and so forth. And this cloud is energized with a high voltage pattern, a specific high voltage pattern, which produces a sort of a stairway pattern in the molecular structure of the cloud. Part of that pattern is a hydrodynamic generator, a hydrodynamic power generator, an energy source, shall we say, permeating the cloud, which is then energized with another energy source and then detonated. And this causes the cloud itself to explode in such a fashion so that if the cloud is circulating around the pillar, then it crushes the pillar from all sides and turns that pillar literally to dust and leaves only the rebar behind. So if you've got this cloud permeating all the way around, that has two detonations.
Kind of picking up the gist, and he's talking about the Oklahoma City bombing. I'm not going to play the entire video. I'll include a link in the description, but let's proceed.
It's very critical. Number 2 was the setup explosion, and number 3 was the final detonation.
Michael Riconoscuito. He's currently serving a 30-year sentence in the South Carolina Federal Penitentiary. He and Ted Gunderson have been acquainted for more than 15 years. They worked together on cases that resulted in 5 murder convictions. Michael Riconoscuito is one of the developers of the Barometric bomb. However, he claims that in 1991 he was framed on drug charges by factions in the government in order to get rid of him. His documentation of being drug clean and company tests for years prior to his arrest tends to substantiate this. Investigator Gunderson and I traveled to a federal penitentiary in South Carolina. We wanted to...
That's what I wanted to do. Okay, so I need to come back to this video though, because this is really interesting stuff. But okay, to get now to yeah, going over some of the
They're 3 columns wide, 3 stories tall. They're prefabricated at the shop and then hauled out to the building and put in place, prefabricated. So when the building came apart, it fell apart into those prefabricated chunks. So here's a wheat checks falling to the ground. Turns out it never reached the ground. Turned to dust first. Down that
quickly before it can cause...
real quick, and now I am demonstrating a weapon from space, and actually I'm going to include another video and stuff too, and I apologize, it's going to be horizontal, it's going to be hard to read, but I'll read it for you, some of the comments and stuff, because I got in a conversation with someone on a different video, but yeah, just basically an update. But check this out. I love Command and Conquer.
I'll just do this one.
Favorite video game.
Destroy the Nod base quickly before it can cause more trouble. Objective complete. Establishing video uplink.
Excellent work, Commander.
And now? Aluminum.
And so this,
That's not conspiracy.
Do you think some people are faking 9/11 illness to get money from the government?
You didn't have to be a rocket scientist to know that you were eating a McDonald's hamburger and asbestos is floating around, landing on your hamburger. And they wouldn't let us leave the site because it would take too long to go out of the site and then to come back from lunch. And then a lot of good the respirators did, because when you went and bagged the body, the smell of a rotten body, you would breathe that the rest of the day. I mean, let me tell you something, that was a level A hazmat job. I'm trained in hazmat.
The government and everybody else is saying 60% of the people that were down at the World Trade Center are faking their illness. If I could go with my crane and make $100 an hour, do you think I would sit home and not do anything? Or go to all these tests and go to through all the crap that I'm going through to get Social Service $305 a month? What am I going to do with $305 a month?
Now, if you got people dying, I mean, I don't know about if you're faking it. I mean, once you're dead, you're dead.
So I just wanted to let everyone know my position on this situation, on I guess trying to figure out the truth, because I understand the importance of closure, and I empathize with others. And even though I haven't gone through a lot of the same situations that others have gone through, I'm still a human being, and I'm proud to be a human being. I'm proud to be an earthling, first and foremost. Being a human being is second. Being a patriot is third. Being a man is fourth. We need to stand up for the voiceless.
oops. Yeah, well, energy weapon. Together, really good.
Like I said, I'll include a link to the original video.
Yeah, check out the Oklahoma City bombing also.
Yeah, Think I'll include a link in the description for the original video. At the same time I'm seeing that, I've got something here, and I think I'm working on a documentary. What'd I do? Ah, no. What'd I do? No, go back.
I just came across.
Ah, I didn't mean to do that. Freaking stupid touchscreens.
Across this video because I was looking up the hope.
So that's that.
Yeah, well, like I was saying, you know, just due to the research and all that, I gave you some stuff. But, so Judy Woods is correct about an energy weapon. She is correct about it. How it all worked, well, it seemed like that first guy just kind of, you know, put that together really good.
So, actually, you know, go ahead and show you this video.
It's 2001 and the third expedition to the International Space Station. Frank Culbertson is the sole American astronaut on board. And today is the day for the crew's routine medical checkups.
It was my job to call that down to the ground. And so I called. I said, "Hey, Steve, how's it going?" And Dr. Hart said, "Well, Frank, we're not having a very good day down here on Earth."
It's the 11th of September.
I had no clue of what was really going on. And he began to describe to me what had happened with the World Trade Center, the plane that had crashed into the Pentagon. And then as we were talking, he said, "Another plane has just crashed in Pennsylvania. We don't know what that's all about." I raced around and found a video camera and a window facing in the right direction. The weather was perfectly clear that day. I could easily see New York City, a big black column of smoke coming out of the city. And as I zoomed in with the video camera, I could see this big gray blob enveloping southern Manhattan. What we were seeing was the second tower come down.
We could see New York City and the smoke from the fires. Our prayers and thoughts go out to all the people there and everywhere else.
What I want to point out is something that someone else pointed out to me, and I apologize as I just start pressing buttons and change the direction of this. And so I put Control Demolition. Like freaking we've been like Gareth McEwen, he's a cool person. Excuse me. A cool dude. And actually using his real name, I mean, which is very impressive in this day and age with the internet. I find it strange. It was directly overhead at the precise moment they came down. Did the station have some sort of weapon? It's too convenient that it was there. And, you know, and hold on, let me actually go back to, you know, that's a good question. I think it might be onto something. And we continued to, you know, converse. And it's very possible that there, because the space station is essentially a satellite, and satellites, they reflect electromagnetism around the world. The round Earth, the spherical Earth, the elliptical Earth, egg-shaped Earth, whatever, you know, oblong Earth. It's not flat, but you know, so it's very, you know, it's food for thought. It's food for thought. So we see that there's, you know, some discrepancies in the whole pie, and so actually I'm glad I pulled up this video, because I actually was sending Gareth McEwen a few links. Hopefully the link shows. That was to one of my videos, but that's about the occult and everything of that nature, and I can you know, and the 9/11, and then this is, I mean,
the Twin Towers had a perimeter of steel panels hoisted up and bolted into place. Each panel had 3 box on the south shower of sparks and looked like steel in a foundry. And there were many eyewitnesses that described molten steel.
You'd get down below and you'd see molten steel running down the channel rails.
Later, we learned of very small spheres of iron found all through the dust. That iron must have been molten, allowing surface tension to pull it into those spheres. NASA took photos indicating very high temperatures days after the event, and Firewise professors were perplexed by melting of steel beams. And so air temperatures was about 1800 degrees or 1000 degrees colder than what's needed to melt steel. Material must have been used as part of the tower's demolition. Thermite is a mix of iron oxide and aluminum, and thermate is a mix of thermite, barium nitrate, and sulfur. But NIST ignored much of the evidence of molten iron or steel. They provided their own theory for that yellow metal pouring from the tower. NIST understood that molten aluminum is silver, not red-yellow. So NIST developed a theory to
NIST, National Institute of Science and Technology,
explained the color issue, stating, "The molten metal was very likely mixed with large amount of hot, partially burned solid organic materials, such as furniture, carpet, partitions, and computers, which can display an orange glow much like the logs burning in a fireplace. But there's a problem. Office materials like furniture, carpet, partitions, and computers are less dense and won't mix. They'll float on molten aluminum, like this coin on liquid mercury, and then burn off at those temperatures. And steel at those temperatures won't melt and would sink, and therefore won't mix with the molten aluminum." NIST never conducted any experiments to confirm their theory, but others did. Dr. Stephen Jones proved the NIST molten aluminum and furniture mix theory wrong. Then, an independent peer-reviewed report was published which found explosive red-gray chips all through the dust and positively identified as nanothermite or superthermite. Unlike conventional thermite, this stuff is a very high-tech explosive and confirmed what the independent scientists had been saying all along. But NIST refused to test for explosives or its residue and ignored standards such as NFPA 921 guidelines. The corporate media attacked all the evidence of thermitic material found.
While the truthers insist that more explosive superthermite could have been used in the tower demolitions, testing conventional thermite can illuminate this physical process and answer a simple question. Can thermite of any type burn through steel beams? 175 pounds of thermite packed around the steel column. It remained undamaged.
Mythbusters says, the events of 9/11 will not be allowed to be debated and discussed. To cut sideways, they barely managed to melt through the roof of a
damaged.
Mythbusters says, the events of 9/11 will not be allowed to be debated and discussed. And they barely managed to melt through the roof of a car with a half a ton of thermite. Periodically, maybe which I set up on some 8-inch concrete slabs. I could not obtain nanothermite, so I made small quantities of old-fashioned thermate, which is not
iron oxide, aluminum, barium.
Not considered an explosive.
We'll skip ahead a little bit. Y'all can watch. Do your
melt steel, but it also sliced a vertical cut. So I made a slightly larger thermitic box cutter and used 2 3/8 bolts drilled and tapped on one side of the connection. It only took a slight twist to break it completely off. I noticed as the thermate burned, it tended to lose its cutting power, perhaps because it could expand into the area where the box cutter previously burned. So I built a piston-driven box cutter using a compressed car hatch piston. I added sheets of tungsten to minimize the burnout and allow the piston to slide better. I then bolted my contraption to the flange of the column and ignited the white-hot magnesium. It appears that not only can thermate melt steel, but it can also cut vertical columns. So why bother to use incendiaries like thermate and not high explosives? I think it's all about keeping things quiet before the main event. Using thermate may take longer to weaken such large columns in the towers, which may be why we see the molten steel several minutes before its final destruction. Here is less politically correct terms. Assisted my box cutter with steel plates, hoping to get a more uniform burn, but got some unexpected results. Can thermate make pressure pulses and or dust puffs? I guess it can. But why waste all that thermate and energy cutting the columns? Why not attack the weakest areas instead? Can thermate cut bolts? I guess it can. But what if just the head of the bolt is exposed rather than the nut and the threads? Can thermate be configured to cut just the bolt head? I guess it can. and without any evidence on the other side. I don't think that something like my piston-driven box cutter was bolted to the office wall.
So, I think I'm supporting my claims pretty well, but you know what? I'm not a scientist. I'm not I'm a high school dropout and I got kicked out of 4 colleges from the west to the east. You know, but I don't think I know what I'm talking about. You know, I really just don't know what I'm talking about at all. Oops, I can't spell. I'm telling you. See, this is the links. This is the things that we're not supposed to know. And the thing is, I linked. It's breadcrumbs, people. It's breadcrumbs. Start picking up the breadcrumbs. I'm doing my best, and the thing is that I've got the strongest theory out there in regards to 9/11. I honestly and truly do have the strongest theory that can even link it up to the sickness, to the chemtrails, to the there is no coincidences. Things, and this is purely the science part of my research. I just made a video in regards to the occult. Check that one out. Be safe, be kind, stay strong, and I love y'all. Stay informed. Don't buy into this false product. Don't buy into the fake news. Don't buy into the media. Think for yourselves. And don't go jumping onto things unless the argument is strong. Don't speak up unless there is a foundation for your words. Don't regurgitate. And that's the thing, is that a lot of these truthers are regurgitating other people's facts. I've got my own facts. I've got my own facts because I'm actually a researcher. I may not be a I have a very good understanding of things. I think I do. I think I purely have demonstrated that with this video. With my other videos. With all my videos. We're going to get to the bottom of this. Please, help me with my research.